Hi, my name is Carlos, and I'm doing a video to showcase this Jira project I did where we migrated from Asana to Jira for over 60 marketing professionals. And it all started with a project where we did not want to renew the licensing for Asana, and we wanted to consolidate the company around one tool, which is Jira. And it was a big project because 65 people were using Asana in, I think it was 10 or more different projects. And each project had individual components and individual configurations. So it didn't roll up nicely into reporting, analytics, and insights the way Jira does. So it started with this form right here that I'm going to show right here, and then I will show a spreadsheet that I use to capture all of the requirements. And then I will go through the marketing service project, which was a ticketing system. And then I'll go through the marketing software project, which is where we had a combination of different Kanban boards and also a Scrum board. So we're going to go through those right now, and I want to first start off by going to the spreadsheet where we had the requirements. So in this spreadsheet right here is where I listed out all of the fields, and as you can see, there was 48 different fields, and I separated it into columns. I kind of tend to call this a design document. So you have the field name, the custom field name, because we had a lot of custom fields because they wanted to do reporting on all the fields available, and then whether it was required or not. And so, here we have the design document, what I like to call, or marketing inventory of requirements. And the first tab is all of the fields on the form, because we wanted the intake funnel and all requests in marketing to go through one form. And that's where we went through all of these different fields right here. And we had the field name, we had the custom field name. So what we named the field when we created a custom field in Jira, whether the field was required or not, and what type of field it was. And then we applied some logic right here. And logic was where we defined the dependencies between fields, because anybody who knows about UX or designing an intake form knows that nobody's going to go through and fill out 48 fields. You're going to lose 80% of your audience before you even get started. And that's why these first 7 fields here are highlighted in green, because these fields are the fields that show up on the form on the initial view, the splash page, if you will. So if you look at this form right here, you have, obviously this is only visible because I'm an admin. For the end users or anybody using the Jira Service Portal, you could not see this field right here. So we had a summary, description, an attachment area, and then we had the initial fields, which were deadline and due date, stakeholders, department, and request type. Now, here's the beauty of defining your logic in a very clear manner from the beginning when capturing your requirements. It's because when you have this many fields, you want to minimize the initial fields, but based on which fields are chosen in here, it would automatically cascade into more fields. And so that's where all the logic comes in. And that's why you can have up to 48 different data fields, structured data, that you can capture on the front end and then submit the ticket this way. And so, as you can see, it keeps going down and down and down the more you select the options on the fields. So if you go back here to the marketing inventory requirements, I'm gonna move that real quick. Then I made a separate tab. So all of the fields have a specific field type. Some of them are a drop-down menu. And some of those drop down menus had a lot of different values you can choose from for the drop down menus. So instead of capturing everything on one field right here, I put it on a separate tab to give the first tab a nice clean look. And here's where the form field values were. And so I captured those separately. On the workflows, this is where we did some clever, I guess, brainstorming, because as you can see, most of the logic in this Jira project came from the request type field. And this is a custom field, not your static native Jira request type field. And they have, about 10 or 15 different request types that the marketing team would process in the company. And because each team processed everything differently, we decided to go with initial 5 different workflows. And the workflows range in statuses. Some of them were very basic requests, which we call general requests. And these had to do, in progress, and done. And then on the approval required workflow or issue type, I'll come back to that in a minute, but on the approval required, it's the same as the general request, except we added one status for in review or approval, meaning somebody would actually have to go and verify the task or the issue type before it was considered done in the workflow. Then the design team had a more involved process. This has about 6 or 7 different statuses. The social media team also had a more involved process and workflow, and that also had about 6 or 7 different field types. Statuses. They're statuses. And then the blog, which had the most statuses of all. And now, if you look at the top part of this chart, the reason we color-coded it is just for simplification and grouping the different workflows and issue types. Now, another part of this is, little side note, I went into, I think it's flaticon.com. I can't remember the name of the website. But I created custom icons here. It was pretty slick. And they help because the native Jira icons are shared by many different projects and project types. So I created these icons specifically for this project. Now, as you can see, when it comes to data pool, direct mail, email push, and just copy requests, other paid advertising, print collateral, etc., all of these are color-coded yellow, which means they correspond to the first workflow, and each workflow has its own issue type, and it also has its own board, actually, its own Kanban board, which I'll come back to later. But then we had to do, in progress, and done, right? And so that way, on the drop-down menu on the form, you'll know which request types are associated with which workflow and which issue type. And so it's a simplified version and view right here that tells you what you need to know. Obviously, we had some serious time constraints. The time constraints were that we were not wanting to renew the license for Asana. And we also had people going on maternity leave. And between those two things, we had 90 days to get this done. And that included moving all of the existing requests from Asana to Jira, training, and then designing, developing, and building out this Jira project with a lot of requirements. Now we get to the automations. And this is where things got fun. And this is what I really, really love about detailed documentation and iteration when it comes to scope, requirements gathering, discovery, building and planning. As you can see right here, if you start on this row and then the next row and the following row, I have grouped these automations into groups. And you can see the process right here where we went with the first iteration and the business users came back and told us, no way, not even close. You guys are crazy, you failed. Then we came back a second time and we tried again and they says, nope, didn't happen. And we followed that process down a little bit until finally the business user said, hey, this is kind of what we want. And we built on that. And so we kept this group of automations right here. And then we went on to build another 5 or 6 groups of automations. And so when you look at the automations, I grouped them into several different groups. And without going into them, Some of these automations will create subtasks. Some of them automatically assign the subtasks to certain people. Some of them assign due dates. Some of the automations automatically transition the issues from one status to the next. And so we have a variety of automations. We even have some automations that would create a subtask, populate an email body, and then shoot off an email to a corresponding assignee. And then once all of the subtasks were done, then they would be marked as done with the workflow assigned for a subtask. And then it would automatically transition the parent task from to do to in progress to in review to done. So we applied some logic in there. But as you can see, some of these had a lot of subtasks being created. And the way we captured this was where we had a trigger, a condition, and then an event. And that's how we took a complete inventory of everything we needed. And then the event oftentimes would include more than just one action, as I stated before. Create a subtask, assign it to a certain person, and give it a time frame, a due date or a deadline, which meant today plus 5 business days, or today plus 10 business days. And these were all preset. Now, in the version 2.0, we were going to go ahead and make these dynamic, meaning if you went to the third subtask that was created and the due date was 2 weeks from the date of creation of the subtask or the parent task, then the system would automatically update all the following dates in case that one ran late. So if it got done 3 weeks after the start date of the original task, then it would automatically update the due dates for all of the subsequent subtasks. Now, remember, when you're doing discovery and requirements gathering, you have to set a scope, because scope creep can really derail your project. And once business users start to see the power of Jira and how truly just limitless the tool really is, all of these different requirements start to come in. And it happened to our team, which was a marketing project manager and me. And at some point, when they were adding more requirements, it was getting difficult to manage the scope. And at one point I asked the end users, well, can you show me how you currently achieve this task in Asana? And needless to say, some people weren't happy about that, because the truth was they weren't including this functionality in Asana. It's just once people start to see the true power of Jira, then their minds automatically start to go into different areas where they realize they can really automate some of those redundant manual tasks they've been doing for years. And so this is where I really love Jira as a tool, because it truly is limitless. And I have a feeling it's going to become very popular. So this is the way we capture the requirements. Once again, because we have a form being used by the marketing Jira service project, we defined all the fields in the form, and then we defined the field values for the dropdowns. Then we defined the workflows, and then we defined the automations. And now this particular group has something called hives, which is a combination of teams within a marketing operation, certain job functions, and then certain team members. And so we started to capture that interaction between the people, the teams, and the functions within the marketing team. And we did so obviously in a matrix type format. So that's how we documented this. Now, once we go to the actual boards, you had all marketing requests. So every time somebody would come in here and fill out these fields and click submit and submit a new form, then all of the requests go into here. Now, the way the marketing team function and the way many teams function, one long list of tickets or even multiple ticketing queues don't really function well with the business process within the team. And that's where we had to create 2 projects for this particular project. One was a service project, which has the form and the initial intake funnel for all requests. And then we have one software project. And this is where we create various Kanban boards and even add some quick filters. So the main one is all requests, and all requests come in here into new requests, which is the first column. Then it gets moved into assigned to pods, and that's when some of the automations start kicking in. And once it's assigned here, it'll go into work in progress or on hold or backlog. Now, this is just the initial request that is submitted to the form. And once you go into the general requests, as I stated before, this goes into the standard workflow, which is to do, in progress, and done. And as you can see, all of these are general requests, which have that little yellow icon, which corresponds to the yellow workflow in the requirements document. So this all ties together at the end, but it's very important to document this. Now, another Kanban board was brand marketing. Once again, this was the second workflow, which is the same as the first, but it adds one column for review in case the task needs some type of approval. And if you click on any one of these tasks, you can see that they have a lot of subtasks that were automatically created, automatically assigned an assignee, and automatically assigned a due date. Now, if you go to one more, let's just go to social media. In the social media, once again, you have the same columns that we defined in the marketing inventory. Social media has to do, in design, in progress, proofreading, final approval, scheduling, and done. And the same thing that we see here. And obviously you can see the same color-coded custom icon, and that way it makes it very easy to define. Now, because we did want to add some level of hierarchy and grouping where you have multiple different, I would say, issue types being seen in one Kanban board, we created the marketing campaign. And the marketing campaign, as you can see, you have the icons can show you their various different issue types. In fact, this one I think has all the various issue types. And then they're grouped by campaigns as epics. And so what we did was we managed to add automations that if somebody defined a campaign in the initial intake form, the system would automatically nest it under an epic. And so now you would have epic, task, and subtask, all within one view right here. And now I'm looking for the Kanban board, which has the quick filters, because we even narrow it down. We narrowed it down beyond just issue types. One of these. Here we go. So right here we added these quick filters, which allow you to drill down even more. So if you only want to see branded item request types, or if you only want to see the signage items, it'll allow you to filter down even more. So you can have one board right here, one Kanban board for your design team, and you can drill it down even more. Say you want to just do signage, which is physical signs in the clinics for our company. And so that's where you can have these individual areas right here. Now, one more area where we decided to get a little creative was in the dashboards. So there's a lot of information here. Remember, in the marketing inventory, we had 48 different fields of information. And every single request started off with the first 7. And then from there, it would, based on the logic, it would expand and capture more data fields. And so what we did is created this dashboard page right here. And this is a 1.0. This is like some very simple preliminary dashboard designs that only include the marketing request types. And it would show you how many requests have been submitted in the marketing team for each type of request. And remember, these correspond to an issue type in a workflow. And then here we have the assignees. And right here, this is the true power of Jira. And this is what was lacking from Asana, because in Asana, every project was different. All 10 projects, all 5 or 6 teams were using a variety of projects. And the issue there is that you didn't have easy access to reporting, analytics, insights, or any type of information that told you what was going on in your operation. So imagine executive leadership trying to figure out what the various teams in marketing are working on. When there's 65 employees, you have anywhere around 5, 7, 8, 10 different teams. And then each team has 5 or 6 people in there, 7 people in there. and you got to figure out what each person is working on and the productivity level in there. That's where dashboards have their true value, and this is real time, it's insights, it's reporting and analytics. Because right now you can see some of these team members here. Down here you have somebody with 14 tasks assigned, and then you have somebody else here at the top that has 105 tasks assigned. Now, we didn't get far enough to drill in here where those 14 tasks, those could be creating a graphic or creating a video for marketing purposes. That's very time intensive. So maybe that's why this person has 14 tasks and somebody else has 105. This could be a simple email. This could be a simple approval. This could be a simple review item. So you don't know what these 105 are. And that's why in the version 2.0, we were going to do capacity planning using story points. But once again, we haven't gotten to do the 2.0 version of this. Everything you're looking at right here is a 1.0. Another important area in marketing was the campaigns. There was some very active campaigns that the company was working on, ranging from women's health to diabetes, new clinic launches, new PCP, and so other campaigns. And so the leadership wanted to know how much effort is being put into these various campaigns. And once again, this dashboard gives you real-time analytics and insights and reporting into your entire operation of 60 plus marketing professionals. Now, with Asana, the marketing project manager would have to go meet with each different team leader or manager and then understand their Asana projects, gather some sort of a report of how many requests had come in, how many were done, who was working on what. And she would have to repeat that process with up to 5, 6, 7, 8, even 10 different managers and team leads, and then put together some sort of information or report that reflects what was going on in the operation. That was time consuming. It's not 100% accurate, and it's always going to be 1 to 2 weeks behind because scheduling around everybody's very busy schedule was not easy, and sometimes you didn't even get the most information that you could. And then if you scroll down on the same page of dashboard on the overview, you have how many requests have been created per week. You have how many requests have been open versus closed. And then remember that hive arrangement that I mentioned earlier? The hives were going to come into play at a different time because it was kind of a complex relationship between team members, teams, job functions, and marketing requests. And so we had that in the works, but we haven't gone to that yet. That was also a 2.0. So this is the overview for the marketing project. There's much more to it, but for now, I just want to leave everyone with this and saying this is how we successfully migrated from Asana to Jira for over 60 people in 90 days and saved the company a ton of money. Thank you very much for being here, and thank you for making it this far.